Hey everybody, and welcome to week 3 of EDU6200. Hope you've had a great Labor Day weekend, a 3-day weekend off, and are enjoying this Monday off and ready to go back to work tomorrow. I myself had a relaxing weekend. As you know, my daughter's birthday. We had a lot of fun and a lot of adventures over at Disney, and now I'm back home, and here we are with the video for week 3. A lot going on this week. We're moving on to one of our first major assignments, and that is the WCG number 9 assignment, the Field Experience Notes. I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail. I gave you a lot of information last week about it, and I want to make sure you're on target to get this one done by next Monday. So this week you have two things you're working on. Number one, you're reading Chapter 3 in the book. I'm going to give you some details about Chapter 3 in a moment, what I want you to key on. And then you're going to focus on the Chapter 3 discussion forum with that. The second piece is that WCG number 9, but don't forget a few of you still owe me some response posts for response post for discussion forum in week 2, which is also due tonight. So let's talk first about WCG number 9. There were some questions about it. First of all, this is your first field experience assignment, and you must have the field experience form signed by your principal or administrator you're working with. You can find that form on the right-hand side of the portal page. The rubric I emailed to you all last week. It is really important you have a careful look at the rubric and make sure that you include the following very important elements. Number one, you have to acknowledge 5 or more barriers that your principal or AP dealt with. Number 2, you must talk about 3 or more acknowledgments of errors, of things with performance, where they're correcting performance, talking about a teacher doing better, improvements, things like that. And then number 3, you must have 4 or more days of notes included. You must be working with your administrator for at least 4 different days. And so this week is only 4 days. Hopefully you got some time last week to work on it as well. Is why I got this out to you early. What you're going to be submitting to me is just a list or summary. Best way to do it, somebody already emailed me it today. They sent me a bulleted list of what they had seen and talked about with their administrator on each day. They did it first showing the 5 areas of barriers and then the 3 areas of acknowledgments. So they did 2 different areas of that and showed the dates where those things came from, and that's perfectly fine. Others have gone and done a list just of the 5 items and then the 3 items and then a list of dates they observed. It does not matter to me how you do it as long as you show that you've done both things and you have at least 4 days of information. You're going to submit that in chalk and wire. And thank you, whoever emailed me earlier today about the fact that chalk and wire and the portal were not talking, but it is working now. So when you go into the portal page under coursework, in week 3, you're going to click on WCG number 9, and it will take you directly into chalk and wire where you'll submit that assignment, WCG number 9, by next Monday. Really important you get that one in. If you have questions during the week, please do not hesitate to email or text me. I will get back to you. We'll talk more about it. The good news about the WCG assignments, though, we don't have any more due until week number 6, which is at the end of this month. So you start thinking about other things, and I'm going to come back to that because you're going to find out the second half of this class, as we talked about when I came to visit y'all last month, it really goes very fast. The second half of this class goes very fast, and those assignments come up one after the other. So I'm going to ask you to start looking at those now, and I will take the end of my video today, give you a brief glimpse of what they look like. Also, don't forget, descriptions of all the WCG assignments are found starting on page 6 of your syllabus, and they go all the way to page 10 of your syllabus. Remember, they do not go in order, so follow the syllabus. It's important to find that information there. The other thing for this week is going to be Chapter 3 in the text. And real quick, I wanted to give you some information from Chapter 3. And let me pull that up here, and I'll talk about Chapter 3 and what's actually in that one. So this one is real neat. Hopefully you got some good information about Chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 3 starts in with the whole piece on separation of church and state. And that is a very interesting topic in our state, depending upon where you live. So if you live in South Florida, which is Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, it's a very liberal, very modern type piece. You live in North Florida, you find it's much more conservative. And so you hear different views across our state. And the I-4 corridor, where a lot of us live, Tampa, Lakeland, Orlando, Daytona, is kind of in the middle. It goes back and forth. And because of that, gets a lot of different election pieces that come down to our area as far as that I-4 corridor. But the separation of church and state is very, very complicated, but it's very clear the way it's written. And a lot of what you see going on right now in the legislature in Florida is they keep trying to pass bills that will help narrow that piece and make it less stringent is the best word to use for it. They have more freedom because right now the way the Florida Constitution is written is that public money cannot go to a private institution that is of a religious nature, whether it be a church, whether it be a temple, any other religion. Doesn't matter. It cannot go to support that. The other big thing in this area is going to be the separation of church and state versus teachers versus students. So as a teacher, you have a clear separation of church and state. You can't lead prayer. You can't express your views, whereas students can. And you'll see as you're reading through the chapter, there are some very important cases that talk about student prayer and how that happens. The other thing you want to know is it talks about the equal access opportunity, and that is that if we're going to rent out our schools, many of you in high schools know this, we rent out of our larger high schools, we do it in Hillsborough, to churches on the weekend. We can't do it to one church and not another unless there's not enough space. We have to have an equal opportunity for facility usage depending upon anything else. And there's a lot more to read in this topic, and I'm looking forward to reading your discussion of it. But great stuff in week 3, chapter 3 of the text. You're going to find a lot of good information in there. So that's this week's assignments. A couple of you are having difficulty getting the first post in by Friday. Please try and do that. It makes it easier. Those of you who are my first posters, I know who you are already. You'll have your first post in by Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and that's great. But for everybody else, it makes it very hard for them because they want to get the rest of their assignment done. And if you wait until Saturday to post or Sunday to post, they wind up responding to the same people every week, and there's only 16 of you. It's not like we're a huge class. So it's really important you get that initial post in by Friday of this week, and that way your colleagues can actually go in and post responses to you, those who want to get it done quickly, and they're not responding to the same people every week. Please try and do that. And if you're not getting to that point, I'll start making some individual comments to you when I do grade your information because it gives me a timestamp on when you actually posted. So that's important stuff for this week, week number 3. And again, that stuff is all due on 9/10, so a week from today. Let's move forward. Your next WCG assignment, which 4 of you already submitted, is number 2. It's the inventory. If you took the data class with me over the summer, you did this for the data class. It's the same thing. It's very self-explanatory. You are uploading a screenshot of your results to Chalk and Wire. So this one, unlike the first one we did a couple weeks ago, goes into Chalk and Wire. And again, please go in through the portal. Number 3, WCG number 3 is due the following week, week 7. That's the field experience assignment. It's called Compliance Inventory. And again, I'm going to go through each of these weekly as they come up. So I've got the next couple weeks to kind of talk with you. But I want you to really look ahead. I want you to look ahead to week 9, week 10, week 11, week 12, week 13, and finally week 15. These are your other WCG assignments, and many of them build on each other. For example, in week number 9, you're doing WCG number 5, Professional Development Research. You're going to research a professional development piece related to our topic, law, and you are going to actually then do a presentation for it a few weeks later, and that's on week 12, WCG number 6. So I want you to see, sorry guys, as you look ahead, these assignments are all related. If you look at week number 10, WCG number 4, Compliance Action Plan Presentation. That is related to later things you're going to be doing when it comes to the observations and school and local community research. And those assignments, which happen in week number 11, number 7, and then also week number 13, number 10, all play a big role in WCG number 8, which is the last assignment. So it's really important you start looking into these now. So as I go over them, and I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go over 1 to 2 of them each week for the next couple of weeks to make sure you get working on those. I gave you today number 9, which is due this week, and I gave you number 2, which is due in week 6. Next week, I'll talk about number 3 and number 5, the next 2 are that are due. and I want you to start thinking about them now, especially that last one, number 8. If you wait until Thanksgiving to do that one, you're not going to get it done on time. It takes, you have to do a survey. You have to do a survey and analyze the survey. So start looking ahead and planning for that. And like I said, over the next couple weeks, I will give you all the information about them. But if you're looking ahead anyway and you want to get started, feel free to call me, email me, text me, and say, hey, Dr. Richmond, I'm not sure what doing this assignment. Can you help me out? And I'll be glad to do so. The last thing before I go tonight is just to think ahead, too. We do have a midterm coming up. That is week 8. It only captures chapters 1 through 6 in our text. So that's something to think about, too, as we keep moving forward. And also in week 5, a couple of you are going to start doing your own discussion posts for us and giving us things to talk about during the weekly discussion. And that first group, I'll be contacting you, just some reminders to make sure of it. The last thing before I go, one of your colleagues posted an article to me that's going on in Manatee County, and it is very, very on target with our topic in this class. And it's unfortunate that we have to talk about this thing, but there's a reason why this class exists. I said it to you in the first week. I'll say it again. The law is not wise. The law is not just. The law is the law. And we have to make sure that we follow the law. And knowing contracts, knowing ethical things, knowing what you should and should not do is one of the hardest but most important things you can do as an administrator, as a teacher, as an educator. We are in the public's eye. And whereas our colleagues in other sports, in other fields may do something wrong, and they get a slap on the wrist. Big deal, right? In education, we do something wrong, it's on the front page, it's on the 6 o'clock news, and you're now going up to the State Board of Education for an ethics violation to lose your certificate, your retirement, and your job. And we need to be very careful about those things as teachers and future administrators, that we make sure we follow those protocols we're talking about in this class. More to come. Also, don't forget week 6, we're going to have an online discussion. We're going to talk about a lot of these topics together. I want to hear what you all are saying. I want to hear what you all are talking about. And that's a really neat thing we're going to do this semester. And I'm going to give you some prompts ahead of time to think about that we're going to talk about during that 30-minute discussion. But that's all for this week. You guys have a great 4-day week, and I'll be talking to you soon.